Yeah, Peloton is basically an exercise. It's a torture machine. That's how I want to say it. But
So that doesn't mean I was about to pack up and move to Brazil.
oh,
You know, and
lovely place. I've been. It's awesome. Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome once again to Show versus Business, your weekly take on pop culture from two very different perspectives. I'm your host, Theo, and on the line, I have the main man himself, Mr. Benja. What is up?
oh, what's up, my man? Just living through this 2021 craziness. How are you?
Doing wonderful, man. Doing wonderful. Well, today I think we're going to talk about a few things. First, we're going to talk about a different topic called the passion economy. Basically, doing what you love to make money. I think that's an interesting concept right now. Next, we'll get into a little bit about Snowpiercer. We've been kind of teasing it for the last couple of podcasts, so we'll finally get into it. I'm excited. I don't know about Ben. And then finally, we'll get into WandaVision, always our weekly check in to see what's latest. But before we get into that, Ben, how was your week? Anything interesting happen?
Man, I was making a smoothie, right? And took down like I do, a little sweet potato, a little orange, some ginger up in there, some yogurt. I make my little smoothie to pad me out during the day. And after it, man, I was feeling bad, and I started like getting a little dry throat and stuff, and I was like, oh man, what's going on? And anytime anything happens right now, I'm thinking it's that Rona. So I'm getting all nervous. But turns out, I went in my fridge and took out the sweet potatoes, and apparently one of the sweet potatoes was bad. So I was like, oh, I just threw some bad sweet potato in my smoothie. Kind of messed me up for a couple days. But yeah, man, just staying safe and staying healthy.
Good, good, good. Stay away from that Rona, brother. Be safe, man. Definitely. Yeah. So on my end, we've got a Peloton, and I've been on a streak here. I've been 11 days straight
Ooh.
now on my Peloton. Yeah, man. I'm excited, man. Look, man. Peloton. They know how to just hook you, man. It's like
Oh,
a
wait, what
drug,
what
man.
what is that for people? Because a lot of people just throw that
Yeah.
word around. But
Yeah, Peloton is basically an exercise. It's a torture machine. That's how I want to say it. But it's an exercise bike, and it's basically the next generation exercise bike. Where instead of you just being on the bike by yourself, just a stationary bike in your garage, just working out, they actually integrated with technology. So you have a big screen TV, and you have it integrated into basically a YouTube-like video player where you can see actual instructors. Some of the instruction can be live, some of it can be recorded, and then they play music, and you can integrate with your Apple iWatch, your Apple Watch, and your headphones, things like that. But beyond that, they have a whole kind of like tribe. I mean, some people even call it a cult, where you basically are addicted to like these instructors, and they're just basically making you feel bad about yourself because you don't finish that 2 minute sprint up an imaginary hill. It's fun. I mean, it's definitely something to do.
so is this like the gamification of a spin class?
You know what? Exactly. That's how we're pictured, right? I mean, it's like to that next level, right? Because it's in home, and then you get to pick your music and your genre. Brilliant strategy, but then they're leveraging like you know the tribes. So basically, if you're on there, you see people you can race against, and you can high five them, and so it's a lot of gamification that they put into that thing. To your point, but it's something, try it out, see what you think about it. I would love folks to give me feedback on your thoughts if you've ridden one of those things, the Peloton. It basically was the hype thing to get during the hype of the coronavirus. And so we'll see what happens when people get back into gyms. But for now, it's cool, something to do.
Not gonna lie, my neighbor got one, and yeah, certain hours of the day, you hear right through the window, just doom, 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 doom. All right, everybody, we're gonna be getting down with. I'm like, wait, what the hell is that? And then I remember, the Peloton truck was outside the day before, and I was like, okay,
Yeah, it's a cult, man. It's a cult, man. So it's definitely something that we'll see. I'll keep everyone posted how we do on it, but yeah, so it's something fun to do, and we enjoy it. But so with that being said, yeah, I think we'll get into our conversation today. I think one of the things that we want to kind of talk about a little bit before we get into the stories and everything is around the passion economy. But those that don't know, this is a term that was kind of started by an individual. Excuse me a second. An individual named Lee Jin. She was the founder and managing partner of Atlear, which is an early stage VC firm, and she actually came from a bigger type of VC company called Andreessen Horowitz. And she came up with a term called passion economy, but it's an idea that we've known about for many years. But basically, is hey, how are people using these digital platforms, right? Which I think we have over 20 or more digital platforms between Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook groups. How are these people using these digital platforms to enable them to earn a livelihood, right? In a way that highlights their individuality. And basically, this is an update to maybe some of you may have heard of the term around 1,000 true fans. This is basically something that came up a couple years back around that. Hey, all you need to have is about 1,000 people that love what you do, and you can make a living off of it. Well, she's updated that and said, well, you know what? With the way things are, you only need 100 true fans right now to really make a living due to individuality, the ability to kind of get your message out there of all these distribution channels and creator channels. And so this is something that, obviously, we're Ben and I are participating in this right now. And I know Ben, Mr. Benja, you're definitely doing it now as far as an artist as well. So love your take on this. What are your thoughts about this term, the passion economy?
well, yeah, we can take this back to crap. If you go back to Andy Warhol, even, he said everybody's going to be famous for 15 minutes. And that then we kind of saw that playing out with social media, everybody jumping on YouTube and whatever else. Then it's kind of morphed into what people have started calling, you're going to be famous, for 15 people, instead of playing that take on Andy Warhol's old thing. Instead of being famous for 15 minutes, you're famous to just 15 people. And the idea is, if you do the math, like 1,000 true fans, if you have 1,000 true fans, and every year you can get them to support you with at least $100, then all of a sudden you're making six figures a year, because you got 1,000 true fans paying $100 each for whatever service or product. Then you've got $100,000 a year. Now that things are getting so much more splintered or bifurcated, or however we want to say it, so much more niche. Now we've got this, idea of, wait a minute, with all these different outlets, maybe we're getting down to 100 true fans, and we support them with $1,000 at a time. And if you think about it, that's not that much of a stretch. I mean, some of you may be listening to this thinking, how can I get $1,000 from people every year, consistently? Well, if you put everything under your one umbrella, you've got, let's say you're heavily branded. Then you've got, you sell them a T-shirt, you sell them movie tickets, you sell them a book, the follow-up book. You may have them on Patreon as well. So these little things start to add up. You offer a class or a webinar, and you can start charging two, three, $4,000 a pop, for the highest end of these consumers. So it's just an evolution, and it's really interesting how it's playing out. And as you said, you've got all your different outlets, Instagram, Facebook, television, and all that. It makes sense, but it's kind of amazing how it's all playing out.
Yeah, I agree, 100%. But well, I even take it even further back to Andy Warhol. I'll take it back to 1776. This concept, right, with
Hmm.
Adam Smith's Wealth of Nations, right? Basically, this is the initial piece that defined economics as we know it. And Adam Smith really had a concept about specialization and division of labor, which basically meant that, at the time, that's how the industrial revolution started, because it didn't just take one person to do all the jobs. They said, well, why don't we just get specialists to do individual jobs, right? And so, and then create like an assembly line, right, to make it faster and easier. Because if you're a specialist, in theory, you'll do your job better than anyone else, and then that should make the whole process better. And so he had a lot of concepts in there around the invisible hand, because now the specialist is focused on their one job. They're incentivized to do better because the invisible hand, which is the economy, the incentive to want to do better, basically he'll get paid more because he's the best specialist there is in creating this, the best bread maker or best, stone cutter. That would allow him to be great at that. And so I think, this is the evolution of that, to the nth degree, where now we have specialists on top of specialists, not just when it comes to, so think of TV, right? TV was just like, hey, you had like three channels back in the 50s and you watched television and that was your entertainment, or radio, right? So think of like specialization of TV and radio, right? Now radio has been specialized where you have thousands of podcasts with different niches, right? Our podcast is an example of that, right? We're talking about show business and, and show and business together, which is a niche. But then you have podcasts that just talk about sports, or specific teams, or you have podcasts that talk about specific genre elements like anime. So it's kind of like, the specialization of TV has happened, right? And so now you have differentiation. And now, because there are people who are great at what they love what they do and want to talk about these things, now you're seeing more folks kind of like, putting themselves out there more. Distribution channels have made it a lot easier. So this is something, that's been foretold for many years, and it makes sense, right? And so I think I'm
But
excited about it.
yeah, it's totally fascinating. And yeah, it does go back that far. It's exciting, but it's also really weird because you're not sure how far down to niche, and sometimes, and it's let's take Star Wars for example. I the guy sends me a link, and it's a breakdown of some Star Wars story arc. I listen to it and I'm like, maybe. And then I see that same breakdown from somebody else. And I'm like, oh no, I like this. I like this little girl's take on Star Wars. I'm gonna listen to her. And, so suddenly I'm listening to Star Wars Meg. That's an actual YouTuber. There's like Star Wars Theory. There's Beyond the Trailer does their Star Wars breakdowns. Everybody's got their own little thing. So now we've even gotten to the point where it's the same thing, but we just want it from the person that we like. So the commodity. All this stuff is pretty much turning into a commodity, and it's like, are you the best at whatever? Well, what do you mean the best? Am I the best match? Am I the best person that looks like you who's delivering this information? Am I the best speaking? Do I do it in your language? It gets really weird, and you're trying to figure out and find your 15 people, your small niche audience in this huge, you know, landscape of all these different apps. It's a challenge right now. We're watching people just fumble around. Heck, I'm,
No,
I'm
no.
fumbling around. I'm fumbling around. You know what I mean? Like, am I on Twitter? Am I on Instagram? Where does my best punch come from? I don't know.
No, that's no. Thanks for that transparency. I think we're all kind of figuring this out, right? We're the best channels to find your tribe, right? I mean, that's what we're all searching for. And but I'm excited about, because instead of trying to find 1,000, which to me is not that many, 100 true fans, that's really not that hard over time, right? If you put out the content, you focus on the district, your differentiation, be really intentional about that. I mean, I think you will be able to find those, right? But it just takes time. And as long as and in theory, you're passionate about what you do, right? So, you should want to get better at it over time till you finally find, that one person, that two persons, those five people that just really love what you do. And so I think I want to take it back to what you just said too. That was interesting about the, you know, some people, there's so much content, right? And so a lot, we're getting a lot of overlap with, people delivering these different content conversations. But now you're right. There are like, okay, well, I want to hear about this story, but I only want to hear it from Meg, or I want to hear from this person, right? And so I think that's the interesting thing too. So how do you figure out, who is your person? And so that's a challenge too. And so thinking through that audience conversation, like, okay, I think the way I look at it is like, okay, if I'm creating content like this podcast, where are some places I would want to find stuff like this, right? Whether through hashtags or through, friends that recommend things or people who are already listening to what they recommend. And so, those filtering mechanisms help me kind of figure out what I kind of like. But then over time, for instance, Ben, I think you put me on a few things, right? I mean, some of the big guys in finance, like Earn Your Leisure, right? Or, Boyce Watkins, right? Some of those guys, I think you kind of put me onto those guys. I was like, okay, let me listen to them. And so, based on your recommendation, right? I got some other folks, right? So I think that's kind of, I think if you can kind of find, those communities that know you and they know what you would like, and you listen to their recommendations, you might be surprised. And to your point, it make it easier to find those 100 fans.
Yeah, and it's yeah. And as we said, we were just talking about jumping around YouTube, but jumping across different platforms on all this. One thing that's really interesting to me is, um, a lot of marketers say this, and you probably understood this well before I did, but the market is the market is the market. Um, People are going to react to things the way they want to, and most often, 80 times out of 100, it's not going to match up with what you think it's going to be. So, I remember I was doing a series, and a lot of my fans started popping up from Brazil, and I was like, "The hell is this about?" I never had any connection with anybody from Brazil, but I was putting out the series of artwork, and I'm just seeing all these different. I'm looking at the metrics, and it's saying, "Yeah, all these guys are coming from Brazil, checking out your work," and I'm like, "Do I need to start setting up international shipping on my products? Do I need to?" And it was kind of disappointing because I'm like, eh, I don't know any Brazilians, so it was just kind of weird to me. But yeah, the market is the market. That was a hard lesson, and yeah, I don't know if you got anything to say on that end of it, because artists will get kind of depressed if the market doesn't behave the way they want it to.
As a creator, right? I think it's your natural inclination to like control things, right? Whether that's your creation, your art, your whatever you create. But then you're right, the market is doesn't di- is dictated by your what you imagine, right? So to your point, you may find that you have an audience in Brazil, right? And so now the question is, do you lean into that or not, right? And the data, that's we do a lot of data analysis in my company where we kind of look at, where's the audience coming from. Obviously there's things you can do with, not to get too deep into like Google Analytics and things like that to figure out where you want to kind of put your resources, right? And you start seeing, a Brazil market, taking off. I'll be like, hey, I gotta get someone that speaks Portuguese, right? Quick, and,
Right,
let me
right.
put some Portuguese art out there real quick. Let me just see, because to me is someone made a good point. I was listening to this venture capitalist. They had made a good point. It was like, think of business like one of those games like of Risk or some of those games that you play, board games back in the day, where the goal was to kind of just accumulate resources, right? But then you didn't know where you need to deploy those resources, right? And so that was always a challenge. And because and I think business is very similar, right? You just don't know where to deploy your resources. Everybody has strengths and weaknesses, right? Seriously,
Yeah, yeah.
that's how I picture, right? Because everybody has strengths and weaknesses in your business, right? And you got to think, okay, how can I leverage my strengths, right, in the best possible way? Because what you're limited by is time, right, and effort, energy, the usual constraints. So the goal is to kind of figure out, okay, how can I maximize the most out of what I have and my strengths? And so that's always, to me, it's a game, right? And so if I figure out, okay, if this is something that's working, right, and I don't know why, well, shit, let me just put more money into it and see what happens, right? And that's always what I do, right, to kind of figure out if this really is something. And then, the more data you have, you can start understanding. Oh, the reason why they love my art is because Portuguese, color blue means something to them, and so or it was the time of the month when all Portuguese wanted to that kind of color for some
Sure,
reason.
sure. Yeah, yeah. I don't. We're definitely not talking in extremes here. Um, so that doesn't mean I was about to pack up and move to Brazil.
Oh.
you know, and
Lovely place. I've been. It's awesome.
yep. And it doesn't mean, you just disregard all the numbers and do whatever's in your own head. There's a middle ground that you need to find. And, I'm learning that right now. But what I was laughing at is, a couple minutes ago, you were just talking about getting things done, and you brought a risk as an example.
Hmm.
Dude, do you know me, Raf, Josh? I don't know if you remember him. He's a previous artist. Worked at the third level, did some work for the Avengers movies and stuff like that. Um, Me, him, Raf, Jeff, Marcellus, the old Payal crew. They used to podcast. We
Yeah.
used to play Risk together, right?
Uh-huh.
What I didn't know about this battle, I'm sitting here looking at the board thinking, okay, well, he's obviously going to bum rush Europe, and come up from Africa, bum rush Europe, and then, that seems to be obvious from the way I looked at the board. Next thing I know, he's pushing all his power through Western Africa and jumping over into Peru and South America just so like Raph could fight Marcellus. And I'm like, they got some grudge going on. And it's like, nah, man, I don't care if it doesn't make sense. You going down. And I'm like looking at it like, huh, on paper, this makes no sense. But when I'm sitting here looking at these two fight it out, I'm like, okay, that makes perfect sense. So
Oh,
it's just one of those variables that I didn't know, I didn't have any idea about. And that's what you're going to end up with in the market, stuff just happening that you don't understand. And it's your job to figure it out and respond accordingly.
or take advantage, right? Maybe you could have needled them more and be like, dude, Marcellus, man, come on, you better step up, so you can win. So take advantage of it. And
No,
sometimes
no,
it doesn't matter, just take advantage of it.
yeah. Oh, it wasn't about winning for Marcellus. His whole thing was to take Raphael down. It didn't matter if he won or not. He was just like, hey man, look, you can have South America, you can have this and that and that. I just want to make sure this fool goes down.
The old
Co-
Mexican standoff, right? Everybody's pointing a gun
Comedy,
at each other.
comedy.
No, that's awesome, man. But no, no, hope that was great discussion about that. I think so for those, we'll put some more content out there on passion economy and check it out. If you have questions, definitely reach out to us. We'd love to talk more about it because this is a space for creators, and so we want to hear about what you're creating, and we'll probably start a series where we'll interview other creators in this space and talk to them and would love to kind of understand, why it was driving their passions, and is that sustaining them? I think that's always a question. And if it's not, what is the plan to do so? And so hopefully, this podcast can help in that pathway. So yeah, let's move on real quick. So yeah, let's talk about some fun stuff around like TV, man. What's going on, man? So with this the show we've been teasing, Snowpiercer, I kind of hinted at it a couple podcasts ago. Looks like you finally caught up on it. So man, let's get into it, man. Well, first of all, before we get into the debate question, what do you think of the show?
So uh, I don't even know if I have a debate thing here, but I'll tell you, Snowpiercer, I totally finished it. It was interesting in how it hit on so many different relevant levels. Um, and what I mean is, when you release a product, it tends to land in certain people's lap, and they're like, "Oh, this is the show for me. This is the show about X, Y, and Z for me." I think Snowpiercer, you can kind of throw it out to a lot of people, and they're just gonna kind of watch it, like, "Yeah, okay, I'm good with this."
No, no. I
Very,
mean,
very rare.
yeah, I love it, man. I think it's I mean, I saw the first season. I remember when they were promoting it and I was like, oh, it's something to watch, but I literally forgot because it's on TNT. I mean, so it's kind of like a obscure US based network that used to be kind of interesting, but just like everything else, it's just kind of mashed together. So you just don't know what time it comes on anymore. Yeah, so you have to wait till it comes on streaming services. So
Yeah,
I found it on HBO Max one night, and I was like, oh, let me just try it, see it out. Watch the first episode, and power through them, man. I mean, it's definitely I think the metaphor of a train, is good because it keeps the plot moving forward, and so I like that aspect of it. So there's always something. And if you remember the movie, which was great, it was with is very similar to that kind of concept, right? And so I think so. I guess the big question is, we kind of hinted at this last time. You know, why do you like the story, right? I mean, the debate is, which is better for storytelling, right? Is it, you know, is it the application of the storytelling to real world events, or the references to real world events, or is it really the puzzle box slash world building, right, that Snowpiercer is building out? So what are your thoughts there? I mean, when it comes to Snowpiercer.
Um, this is where I had trouble with this one because it didn't it wasn't a clean cut for me, and I started realizing what it actually was. Usually a show takes a dedicated, and this is because of human psychology. We basically, you know, take a I'm doing this and clearly not that. Like a guy who's doing an action anime is like, I'm doing an action based anime. And I'm not trying to get heavy into relationships. Okay, that's a hard stance you kind of took. So you're automatically going to get this one crowd and not get the other crowd. Sometimes you have action and relationships, but then you decide not to worry about story continuity or the world making sense. You know what I mean? Like you just have magical things happening. Why? Just because it doesn't matter, and that frustrates some people. So you can have all these different, axes of we focus on this. We clearly did not focus on this. So Snowpiercer threw me off, man. I really did because I'm looking at it. It's like, okay, it's decently written. It's got interesting characters. If you're into the character kind of thing, it's got a great high concept. Almost anybody hearing it kind of stops and says, "Well, how does that work?" Um, well, yeah. For the people who don't know, what's the high concept on this show? Pretty quickly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So Snowpiercer, into the world is frozen over due to some climate change, technology that went horribly wrong, and so froze the whole world. So someone in the infinite wisdom created a internal engine that fueled a train to continue to move through this world, and only about I think it's about 3,000 survivors made it on board the train. And so now you have the train set into these different class-based systems that travel through the world over and over again in revolutions across the world. And so they live, fight, love, on this train. So that's the premise, high level.
Yeah. So the entire world's basically chilling on one train. And that's the basics of the show. So you've got like the bums in the back and the snooty bourgeois types up front. Um, and then there's just battles all the time in terms of who deserves what, who runs what. These are the working class. These guys up front don't do anything. Um, so yeah, there's that whole social, real world application. As I said, it doesn't cut clean for me. There's so many little bits to it that are likable. I just want to stop and say, congratulations, you guys. You made something that's, you know, um, very watchable no matter what platform you put it on.
No, okay. So look, I love it because there is some real world metaphors here. You think about revolution, you think about Russian Revolution, even American Revolution, right? And so it's kind of interesting. The cast is made up of a actor, David Dix. He was in Hamilton, which is the big play that was took the world by storm several years ago. Speaking of which, have you seen that at all on Disney Plus yet?
Hamilton?
Yeah.
Nah, man, I'm a bum on that one.
Man, you better get on that, man. Dude, you don't know none of the songs? Come
Oh,
on.
goodness.
Get on it, man. You gotta be a ham for Hamilton, man. Ham for Hamilton.
You ain't black. I hate that, man.
Yeah, man. Oh,
See, that's
yeah.
everybody listening, man. That's the one. That's the one thing some black people fear. It's like somebody comes up to you, hey, did you watch this black show? Or it's got a black lead in it. Did you watch it? I'm pretty sure you did. And you're like, yeah, I missed it. And then they walk away and get disappointed, man. Like, shit, I don't fuck.
Oh, man. True story, man. I was watching the Five Heartbeats earlier today, and so it's like every it's a commercial based movie, so like every scene was like, oh yeah, I remember that scene. Oh yeah, this is the famous scene. So let me ask you, you've seen the Five Heartbeats, right? That's the other black test. Come on.
Yes.
Okay, good. Uh-oh, here come the police. Sir, we're gonna have to take your black card away. But anyway, going back to Hamilton. So great Tony Award winning play. Humble brag, I had the chance to go watch it live in New York with the original cast. So yeah, I'm awesome. So yeah, thank
Oh
you.
boy, here we
Uh,
go.
but I had no clue what I was getting into, right? So I didn't know it was. I heard it was good things. I said, hey, let's go check it out, and so we did it, and yeah, it blew me away. But anyway, make a long story short, going back, David Diggs, he was cast as Thomas Jefferson in that play. So yes, definitely he's a black actor playing a white president, but it made sense in the play, right? So basically, he brings the same kind of swagger to that role on Snowpiercer, right? He's a revolutionary, trying to take back the train. So that kind of stuff, excites me when you have like real world metaphors. There's been history around Russian Revolution, the poor taking over, violently, even right from the ruling class. So the czars back in the 1800s. So things like that is really exciting to me, and so I think, and then also you have concepts. The Jennifer Connelly character, she's great because she is a leader, right? But she's a maybe a false leader, right? Not telling everyone the truth. And so I think that kind of stuff is good, about understanding how that can apply to a real world. So to me, that's why probably obviously, the storyline, the characters, sure, that's great and wonderful. But
Okay, so you're digging on this pretty much because of just the class relationships, the societal kind of portrayal there, power and in its different forms in a contained space kind of thing. Is that what I'm getting from this?
yeah, definitely. I love that kind of stuff. I mean, because it's it makes me want to go do research, right? I know that sounds like a nerd thing to do, right? Oh man, this great show. I want to go research. But it was definitely something that sparked, interest in me, right? To kind of understand more about these concepts. And so to me that's good. But I know that's like, you're right. More people like, okay, do I care about these characters? Are they interesting characters? Do we understand what they want, what their motivations? And I get that in storytelling. That's just the core function of a character, right?
Yeah, yeah. See, I didn't give a shit about any of that. Um, and this is great that we both enjoyed it because, but I guess my big draw to it was the how the world was built and just all these little pieces. How do they work out in such a contained space? It's like once you see of course they have a dining car or whatever, dining train, but all of a sudden they have like a medical bay, and I'm like, huh, wonder what else they've got in this train. I start thinking of just how the world's constructed, and oh yeah, they would need a train with some cows on it just to if they're going to be feeding people beef and everything. So interesting. All right, and yeah, it's just this little mental game I'm playing with myself every episode. How did they do this, or what are they going to show me this time? So, and they did that too. Every episode, I don't know if you realize they kind of showed a little bit more of how the train actually worked. So
Mm,
I was just kind of
yeah.
like, oh, that's cool. I'll watch that.
Mm. Yeah, it's now in the second season. I don't think they showed it as much because there's been some interesting changes, right? Where they actually introduce a whole new set of characters. But with that being said, I agree. I mean, I think there's differentiation in what we love stories. I kind of talked to you before podcast a little some of the stories I enjoy, like Isaac Asimov's Foundation, which is a great sci-fi classic that they're actually going to remake. I think on Apple TV. And actually, there's another show. I didn't talk to you about this one, but it's
Apple
called from
TV.
yeah, Apple TV. I know it's another streaming service that no one knows about really. So yeah, you pay $5 a month and you get access to middle to medium great TV shows. Well, there was one TV show. It's called Ted Lasso. It was about a soccer guy. Well, actually, he was a football coach in America. Went over to Europe and coached a soccer team. That was actually pretty good. It's kind of like kind of fish out of water kind of guy, but but he's so cheerful and upbeat that no one can get him down. It's kind of
Yeah.
like those that kind of character. So that was one of their big hits. But yeah, so there's another show I watched that I like. It's called For All Mankind. Uh, yeah, it's that's the show is great. It's by the guy from Star Trek, Ronald D. Moore, and he created this like alternate universe where what if the Russians beat us to the moon? And so there was a whole lot of ramifications that came out of that. So now NASA basically got more money, more funding. They started to think about like, oh, we need to add women and people of color to the astronauts so we can at least claim that as a first. And so now you have a whole alternate world where space is driving a lot of things and innovations are coming faster because NASA now has to create all these things for space environments. And so now they have cell phones and electric cars decades before Tesla and
Yeah.
and HP. So it's
And
interesting.
what'd you say this? What platform is this on?
Apple. Oh yeah, yeah,
Apple.
they.
So we're still on Apple. Okay. No, no, no. I'm fascinated by what happens with the separation of um, I'm going to call them streaming services, channels, whatever you want to call them, is that you end up with content for these type of people, and if you're into the whole Apple bubble, the Apple ecosphere, whatever you want to call it, then you're probably going to be more likely to enjoy whatever shows they're putting out there. Um, if you like, Amazon has its own crowd, HBO Max has its crowd. You're going to start seeing these different types of crowds forming. Um, and that's really interesting that is playing out the way it is. So I mean, I don't know. You can only have so much time for any of this stuff, but like as we were saying before, you know, how are your fans going to be there to always pay the money to subscribe, to order the merch, to um, I don't know if you know about Crunchyroll, right?
Yeah, yeah, I know about Crunchyroll. Yeah, and
Crunchyroll is one of the unique ones because, well, aside from Amazon, I guess, but Crunchyroll is unique because it's not just a streaming service. You go there and it's an anime store. You can buy books, your manga. You can, you know, actually purchase the physical paper books, or you can, get them on like a digital download to read on your tablet or whatever. So they've got this whole little ecosystem where the new Naruto comes out, and all of a sudden you're getting offers for a little Naruto doll you can set up on your shelf. Come straight from Japan and everything. And it's like, holy crap, this ecosystem is brilliant. And that's something I've been kind of watching out for. More people to do connections like that. That's something to watch out for.
no, I think that's brilliant. It's coming. You gotta think because I'm surprised Amazon doesn't do more of that. To your point, because I was watching The Boys and they could have done a lot more than what they did. I think they were just like, hey, go to the Boys store and you can buy some T-shirts, but they could have action figures. They could have sold like cosplay character outfits. It's like, what are they doing? I mean, to your point, it's like, dude, this is prime real estate to sell more. And Amazon basically is a everything store, right?
Yeah. So basically, I've heard this from somebody who has worked at Amazon. I know a couple of people who worked at Amazon actually, and apparently their strategy is to get in somewhere, find out what everybody's doing, learn as much as they can about it, and basically hold back the big guns until they're ready to pounce on an opportunity.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So at any given moment, they could just like as you said, they had a very small link or whatever to the t-shirts and stuff. And I totally remember that from the boys show. But the fact that they did it at all means that somebody tried it out, tested it, you know, wrote down here are the pros and cons, here's where we're going to have problems, da 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 da. And whenever they want, they'll be able to just roll out a whole crazy, you know, marketing push, a slew of product, an entire pipeline for getting products to you. They even have not drop boxes. What is it called when you get the subscription boxes in? Um, but the subscription boxes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can have a subscription box show up at your house like the day of, um, for example, like WandaVision releases every week. Let's say you had an Amazon Prime package of WandaVision, swag every week to watch to go through while you're watching the show. I mean, the level that they're thinking on is so far ahead. It's crazy.
Well, that's why they're up for they're
Uh,
being investigated by the Senate
oh yeah,
for what's it called, monopolistic tendencies, right? Because there's been stories that they basically just look at the data, right, for people who sell third party items, and then over time they just like, oh, we'll just undercut you on price, and we'll take it from here, sir. Thank you very much.
yeah. Anybody wants to know about that? Look up the diapers.com story.
Oh, wow. Okay. Diapers.com. Yeah, check it out. So I think the Amazon, their practices could be considered because they're a platform, right? And you can resell your own items and things on there. But that's why a lot of creators who are doing dropship business are probably doing Shopify now, right? Because that's supposed to be more open and you get your own data and you can kind of control that better. So I know this kind of careened off into this Amazon domination story, but it's definitely interesting part of the passion economy and creation creator stories, because it's like you kind of have to deal with Amazon as they're are they going to take the passion like you said, emulate Crunchyroll and do something with all this content, right, that they're creating, and now have all these avenues to generate thousands of dollars from fans in addition to watching the show, right? And I think that's what the passion economy is about at the end of the day,
Yeah,
right? So I think,
definitely.
you get it.
So
Oh, real quick, I did want to bring up too. Remember DC Universe? Wasn't DC Universe trying to do that too, right? Or whatever it's called.
they actually were, people knock them, but DC actually pioneers a lot of this stuff, but it just falls apart somewhere along the way. And yeah, DC Universe was starting to really get into that. I was on their service before it went down, and was very impressed. Every time a show came out, that you had a comment section talking about the show. You had links to merch and different products and everything, and it was starting to build up into not just a platform. It was building into a real community. And like I said, with Crunchyroll, that's just something I hadn't seen much of. And will DC ever bring that back? Yeah, Disney will probably do it before they do.
Yeah, Disney does everything before anyone. No, we'll see. I don't know, man. It seems like they got their plan around this 1 week, one release every Friday, right, for new content. So that's kind of their focus for the foreseeable future, specifically around the MCU. So I guess it's a good transition to kind of talk about WandaVision, since we got circled all the way around to talk about Disney. so
Oh,
uh so let's do a quick Wanda check-in, right? Kind of see what we think about WandaVision,
all
the
right.
latest episode.
Yeah, spoilers on. We're about to spoil WandaVision if you haven't seen it yet. So just letting you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Spoiler alert. But before we get into that, I love the home. So they've been going through different genres of family sitcoms. I think this one, or just sitcoms in general, this one was along Modern Family. If you watch that TV show, basically the hidden camera, doing interview style kind of conversations with little snippets of a story. And then I think The Office, right, was the other one, right? The kind of like kind of comedy. Well, really kind of gave me more vibes of Arrested Development, right? Especially when Vision was on his quest, right, doing something with. So I thought that was kind of interesting. So that whole 2000 kind of vibe of comedy and confessional type storytelling. So I thought that was kind of cool. Um, what other things before we get to the spoiler alerts, or more spoiler conversations? What else did you like or not like about this latest episode?
So, you know, WandaVision is more interesting than it is good to me. Um, but this goes back to our discussion about what is it creating for the people. Um, so it's just really interesting to me that it's this treasure hunt, this you know people going around finding little bits of information, finding um, going down to the deep dive into old comic stories about House of M and all this stuff. And so that's terribly fascinating to me. um, so I'm in for that. But when people start telling me, oh yeah, the story's so great, I'm like, yeah, 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 hold on. It's I don't know what you're talking about with story, but for this week, let's see. I'm still not sure uh, what they're going to do in these last three episodes. So I really hope it wraps up with a bang,
Mhm.
because if they're building me up this far, and you know, it's just like it just kind of plateaus or just kind of stops. I might have to put on my hater hat and and make a video.
Yeah. Don't be me. Don't be me. Don't drink that haterade, man. Just stay
uh,
positive. Stay positive. Uh, well, I like the fact that Monica is kind of kind of afterthought, but Monica Rambeau finally got her new powers, I guess. Going back through the hex, and so her eyes lit up, sure, and she's strong, I guess, because her and Wanda got into it a little bit, and so. I don't know exactly what her power set is. I know her mom's power set was more around the light and spectrum, capabilities. But or is that? I get. I may have saying that wrong. I think that was her character's power base,
yeah.
right?
So yeah, her mother, for whatever reason, was actually, her call sign was photon.
Okay, got you.
So I think that she's going to pick up her mother's call sign as her name.
Got you. And you're right. I think the comic book character is Photon, and that her power set is that she can manipulate light, see light, do travel at the speed of light, and different different type of light powers. Right. I think that's her character's powers spectrum. So I guess that's what they were hinting at, but it looks like her eyes can just see through the hex. I think that was what they were kind of indicating. But so we'll see where that leads to. So she's powered up, so that's good.
I got blue eyes. I can see the Matrix.
She had to push through though, man. She had to push through that pain. She did it though. Good for her, man. Good for her. So yeah, let's get into it, man. So this week's revelation was that you know, the bad guy did it. The bad guy. And the bad guy in this case was Agnes, the neighbor. It was the neighbor the whole time. So
Yeah.
uh my first take on it was sure. I mean, I thought it was a cop out, to be honest
Why'd you
with
think
you,
it was a cop out?
because that would have been more interesting that Wanda was really the mastermind behind this. Because it really harkens back to what's it called? Avengers 2, right? Man, what Ultron, right?
Okay.
Age of Ultron, because remember she was introduced as a villain, right? Her and her brother, and of course they made the hero turn at the end. But I think sure, let's make her kind of a villain, right? Kind of a pseudo bad guy, made it more interesting. So and then but they were hinting though this episode even before they revealed Agnes as being the bad guy, as her state of mind, she didn't know that she could do this, right? And so she was not feel like in her right mind. So they were kind of hinting at that she was kind of going crazy, which I like too, right? So, but don't make it, that I think that there's more nuance there, right? But if it's just some bad guy that's pulling the strings, that ultimately it's a cop out because now, oh well, she's really good, but someone's controlling the string, so we're gonna make it work. So it goes back into that, black and white, good versus bad. Instead of more nuance, people go crazy, man. If you got power sets like that, you don't know what they're gonna do. So sure.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I can see that there. I think if they end this and she's just like all happy, um, happy Avenger, making roses in the front lawn, and she doesn't have a bad thought at all. Yeah, I actually thought some of the conversations that people online were having about, depression, her mental state, and her reaction to, Vision being alive and her breaking Vision out. There was all this, like, hey, maybe this isn't just a black and white character. So, I get you. I get you there. I
Yeah,
think
because
my
doesn't that reveal real quick? Doesn't that reveal undercut? That conversation. Now it's like, well, she's not really depressed. She's just under influence of evil mad woman. So, so it's like, oh, we had these big long debates on the internet about her depressive state, which is I think a relevant conversation. But
yeah,
it's
yeah.
like, so what?
Yeah, with everyone, with the discussion of all the discussion about mental health in general, I think it was really timely for this to happen. But I guess I'm holding out that they don't completely undo all of that with these next what, 2 episodes, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's gonna be more of a well, because you were so weak minded, I was able to get in and get in there, right? And so, but it still undercuts, the more powerful conversation around that. But I get it. So we'll get into your thoughts. Sorry.
I mean, well, is Disney going to have some depressed lady causing havoc, fighting with people who are trying to help her? As I've said, I think this is one of, if not the most adult Disney show that I've seen,
Hmm. Hmm.
or on Disney Plus. I don't know if I can think of another one. Well, maybe Rogue One, but that was just sad. But
I know, but yeah, that was dark.
but yeah, but
So
actually, as far as character though, I get what you're saying. I wasn't that mad at it. I just thought it was a little soft. Like, okay, it's about time we did that reveal. It wasn't like I jumped up and was like, ooh,
yeah, I know. Oh, damn, snap!
right?
I think everybody was more snap on the Quicksilver, right, reveal more so
Yeah,
than this one. But I mean, so be honest with you, I did like the way they revealed it though. I thought it was funny. I mean, it's hilarious. It was basically they went back to all the previous episodes, right? And they just sprinkled her in and the Agnes, the neighbor, and all her shenanigans.
yeah,
And she had a little cool song too. So it's kind of like, like you would do in those little, 1960 shows, right? And then at the end she said, and I killed Sparky too. I cracked up, man. That was hilarious.
yeah,
So to me, I was like, sure.
yeah.
I mean, if for the sake of comedy and yes, sake of character, storytelling, yeah.
So, they've already succeeded in what they were trying to do, make splashes, make waves with this new type of show in the Marvel Universe. Um, I don't know how many times you can do a show like this. I know there are people who read mystery novels and, watch cheesy soap opera kind of series that they live off this stuff. But yeah, I don't know how many times you can do this.
Yeah. Yeah. It's I mean, look, I mean, it's a swing though. You're right. I mean, Disney, this is the biggest swing they've made. I mean, being their first TV show. They swung wild, right? It's kind of like if they released um Guardians of the Galaxy before they did Iron Man, right? So it's kind of like,
Yeah,
wow, they went out there. So it's kind of like,
yeah.
they this is kind of what they did in this world. Now, granted, they had the 20 something 21 movies, behind them to kind of do something like this, take that risk. But that's kind of the analogy I would look at it, right?
Well, this was supposed to WandaVision was supposed to come out after Winter Soldier, Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Hmm.
Oh, did you know that? I didn't know if you knew.
Yeah, yeah, I heard that. I think you revealed it last a couple of podcasts ago, but I
Okay.
agree. I mean, so what? So yeah, so what changed their mind? What do you think?
No, it was the fact that it was easier to develop. There's not as much,
Mhm.
flying around, trucks, special effects, explosions, and things, and that's actually harder to plan for than putting a black and white filter on a show and saying,
Yeah,
"Hey, go with this." Um,
yeah,
you know, um, so yeah, a lot of the effects that are in WandaVision were easier to pull off. The show was easier to wrap up and finish. So they've readjusted some of the story, and so I think some of the reveals might have been switched around a little bit, but for the most part, they've stayed the same. And the only reason I mention that is because it's not as big a flex as I first thought it was. It was like, well, we have this WandaVision thing and it's coming along pretty early and we need to get this out first and production's going to finish first. So let's change our entire strategy around to match that.
Okay. So you're saying it wasn't like this was the plan all along. This is more like, we'll make an adjustment. We'll make it work. We're MCU. I'm Kevin Feige. I can make anything work.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's still a big flex, as I said, just with the style of show they're doing. But I went back and rewatched all of them, and I was like, going back on the second watch, I was like, well, that was something I spent far too many brain cells on. It's like, this random thing happened, and I'm on the internet boards like, holy crap, this little thing happened. I'm like, didn't matter. It's not even like Easter egg material. It's just, the production designer decided to add something in that was interesting, and it's how rewatchable is this? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, speaking of which, we're gonna get into your theory on the commercial. So, did the last commercial they released basically was a drug commercial, which is relevant. You still have that belief, or the internet still has the belief that these commercials are linked in some kind of way to the Infinity Stones?
Um, so I mean, to me, it was pretty clear that they were just calling out the Infinity Stones, and I think what may be um, a better look at it is that it wasn't so much that these are Infinity Stone commercials. It's just these are things that are reflecting Wanda's headspace.
Mhm. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Um, where we're talking about like the Tesseract and the, soaking up Hydra's, mind control. We had the whole, you know, what was the other one? The Lagos
Hmm.
ether.
Clean up a mess. Yep.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, clean up messes that you didn't mean to make or whatever.
Hmm.
And I think people were looking more into the overall lore of the show, and this is people like me who are trying to pick apart the plot threads and the story continuity instead of just looking at this person as a character.
Hmm.
Like, hey, this is Wanda. How would she think about time or whatever? And two people trying to sell her, Strucker trying to sell her on this thing, and it relates to the Mind Stone and Time Stone and all that jazz. So, um, it's still there. I just don't think it's as uh, structurally, you know, point A to point B to point C kind of connected as people think. It's more of this, and this is the show in general, by the way. It's more of this character world building glob of, hey, this is my feeling and interpretation in this one big artistic kind of abstract painting, if that makes any sense.
No, it makes perfect sense. I mean, that was what I kind of started gleaming, especially this last episode. The title sequence really kind of reflected her frame of mind, right? That she was all alone, right? It was just Wanda, 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 right? Like
Yeah,
so so that to me was like, they're I love how they're using the everything so that you're right. There's better conversations about the show than it is the things around the show than it is about the show, right? So it's kind of like they're doing some interesting things about how they're doing telling a story. They're using title sequences to tell a character's state of mind, commercials I mean, I don't think that's ever been done before, right? It's kind of interesting. So I think commercials have been done. We've seen some joke commercials like remember RoboCop back in the day? They had like all these commercials. Yeah.
yeah,
He said, I'll buy that for $1. So, that's an old reference if you guys haven't seen that movie. But they always had these little jokey commercials that would pop up. Another one was Starship Troopers, where they would have like propaganda kind of little things interchanged in the movie. So
yeah.
those are kind of cool, right? How do you propel, uh, create emotion or a state using different type of storytelling techniques? And so I think that's what they're doing on Wanda, which is pretty cool. But overall, the story, I think like you're right. If you're gonna watch the whole story again, unless it ends with a bang, which I'll be honest with you, it's probably just gonna leave with a big cliffhanger until 2022 when we watch Doctor Strange and the what's it called, something of madness.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, check this out. I do not think we are getting a clean, wrapped up ending at all. Um,
No,
I don't know if people are going to think that, hey, the story's going to end, and we're going to see Agnes and Vision and Sword and all this work out their story. You have another. I'm going to call it right here. You've got another thing coming for you. Um,
this
you're about
story is internal, like the internal engine that we talked about in Snowpiercer.
yes,
We'll
eternally.
be
Keep
watching. We're
wrapping
gonna be
around.
watching Marvel. We're gonna be watching Marvel TV shows and movies. Well, our grandkids and our grandkids are gonna be watching. They're still gonna be talking about WandaVision.
Yeah. Okay. For people who haven't watched like serialized television and don't know about like the season cliffhanger and something happens and it's like dun 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 and you see like somebody you thought was dead at the door, but now they've got a mustache on and it's like I've been hiding out in Mexico for 4 years. And it's like, holy shit, what's this guy been? But I thought he was dead if he didn't kill him. And wait, why is he even coming back? And how does he know? And you've got all these questions, and then the credits roll. Dude, that's Game of Thrones level stuff where they would just cut it off, and now you got to wait months for the next season. Um,
For years.
you know, they're gonna. I totally think people are gonna be upset now that they've gotten all this far into it, and it's just gonna do the whole, you know, hey, you've got to come back in fall, watch the rest of it because we're not giving you much more than more questions.
Exactly. I guarantee it's going to be at least about four questions they're going to leave. I'm just throwing four because I know it's going to be about the twins. We don't know, how they were created or whatever. So that's going to be left in lingo. I do think they will resolve the central concept, which is Wanda and Vision, getting together. And I think they'll try to resolve that Vision can exist in this world, right? Because it makes sense, right? So I think that's the one thing they'll resolve, but everything else is up for grabs. Like, why did Wanda go crazy? Where did Agnes? I mean, they'll probably explain why Agnes came from, but could Wanda go crazy again? That's going to be left in, definitely Quicksilver. I don't think they'll resolve that anytime soon. So yeah, maybe we should make some bets and predictions. Maybe if you guys are listening out there, give me some thoughts. Where do you think, what questions are going to be left at the end of this season? Because I think we're all agree that, you think this is going to be over nice and neat. Oh, in the WandaVision. See you in the movies. Nah, dog.
Yeah, and that will be the reason to see the movie. You have to know how it ends, so you're going to
Oh,
watch the feature. Feige said it himself. So yeah, Instagram, Facebook, uh, Twitter, however you want to contact us, hit us up and let us know what you're thinking, and we can ask your question on the podcast, and we can try to figure this out before it drives us crazy.
yeah, we got a couple more episodes to talk to. So, with that being said, Ben, I think that's about it for us. Any things coming up next week?
Well, we got one episode of that left. We still haven't done a deep dive into Zack Snyder, what he's going to be doing. So we'll probably get into that a little bit at some point. Um, yeah, man, always something new in the streaming front. And it's the last week of Black History Month. So, make sure you send us your Black Batman Week fan art. And
Black Batman.
I got to find that David Chappelle Batman clip. I got to post that.
Oh yeah, you gotta post that, man. No, that's great. Great movie. I just saw Judas and the Black Messiah. So that's just came out on
Yes,
HBO Max. So
that's
go
a
check
good
that out. Go check that out. So it's about the Black Panthers, the real Black Panthers. So but yeah, so thanks for that, Ben. Hey everyone. Well, thank you for your time again on Show versus Business. Hope you enjoyed it. Once again, listen to us on anywhere you listen to podcasts. Ben, if that's it, I guess I'll talk to you later. Have a great one.
That's it, my man. Peace.
Thank you for listening to Show versus Business, your weekly take on pop culture. Please subscribe to this podcast at Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, or wherever else you listen to podcasts. Please like and subscribe to our Instagram page, Show versus Business, to get exclusive behind the scenes takes and upcoming episodes. Talk to you next time.
Finish him!